Hey folks, SMK Gaming here. I've got a very in-depth video today. It relates to how DICE could have better helped new players into the game without pissing off the core community and the players that are still playing the game. I feel everyone would have been happy with these changes. It's just not been well received, as you probably know. Many people have quit the game and it doesn't even really seem to be attracting that many new players. Haven't played it a couple of days over Christmas, but yeah, DICE just haven't done the best way. They've took the lazy option, in my opinion. When you are thinking about playing a new game, what's your biggest fear about playing that game, especially a game that has already been out a couple of years? It's that other players are going to have an advantage over you. They're going to have the better guns, the better attachments. They'll know the maps. You won't have a clue where you're going. You know, DICE have to think, how could they help people with this? This is the biggest barrier to get them into the game, to keep them in the game, especially in a game that's been out a year. Have a look at Fortnite. How do they help new players? When you think about Fortnite, you're about to start playing the game, it's been out 2 years already. What could help you? Well, Epic Games already have that there. Fortnite Creative. It's an area where you can go in and just practice, where you can design maps. You can practice your building. Building is the biggest fear for new players trying to play that game because it's unique. It's very different to what other games are doing. And if you're not a good builder, you get wrecked. You could be really good at shooting. You could be really good accuracy. But if you don't know how to build, you will get destroyed. And Epic Games have put this in the game. DICE should think and look at things like this. You know, I will talk about the CTE later on, the community test environment. But yeah, first of all, let's get into the three main topics I want to discuss today. Easy to use weapons versus skill cannons, problems with player retention and quitting the game, and the third one is measuring the success, how DICE are going to measure the success and the problems that they put too much emphasis on their telemetry data, and I'm going to talk about the problems with that also. So I'm going to paraphrase in some of the evidence I'm given here for why DICE have introduced all these new changes. So changing the base time to kill is not their goal. It comes as a result of very carefully planned changes that encourage a better entry point for players wanting to commit to Battlefield, while sustaining skill cannon weapons that reward committed players. Okay, so remember that final bit. While sustaining skill cannons that reward committed players. We're going to talk about that quite a lot. DICE believed that the current design held a few problems, and this is why they brought these changes in update 5.2. They believed the balance catered strongly to highly skilled players who largely ignored the breadth of weapons available in the game. Did it cater to highly skilled players? Maybe a little, but did they largely ignore all the weapons in the game? Probably, yes, they probably did. So they've introduced this to try and change things up a bit, and for them to use a variety of different weapons. Adding new content is a reduced value to skilled players because they largely have their favourite weapon. I've kind of already said that in the last thing. Yes, that would be true. The balance doesn't cater enough for playstyles, leaving a player who isn't highly skilled without options that may be easier to use. So again, they want to make some weapons easier for players to use, whereas others, they want to have a higher level, so they're harder to use. We want to ensure new players pick up the game and have the ability to use an easy to learn weapon or in order to get a few kills and understand the game, so that they then graduate to harder to master weapons. They've always inspired to be this. They want Battlefield to be an easy to learn but hard to master game. Some of these changes are focused on making the player's initial experience with the game a less punishing one. However, it is not intended to make all guns easier if you're less skilled. It is not to make the game aimed at less skilled players. Some weapons need to be skill cannons, some weapons need to be simpler in nature, and some weapons need to sit between the two. So, where are these skill cannon weapons, folks? They reduced the recoil on all weapons. The rate of fire was reduced on some of them. Where's the harder to use weapons? The weapons where you're rewarded for spending time with them. They're hard to learn because they've got more recoil on it, but once you learn to control that recoil, they do more damage at distance. They maybe have a faster rate of fire. The skill cannons, DICE. Where are these skill cannons? You're saying you want easy to learn weapons, but you also want harder to master weapons. You forgot about the second part of this update. If you had have done this second part, the core community wouldn't have been as pissed off. You've put in the easy to learn weapons, but you forgot to put in the harder to master weapons. Where are they? They're not there. Like, we want weapons that give us, yes, a bit of an upper hand in the game, but they should be hard to learn, hard to use. There's no hard to use weapons in the game anymore. They're all easy, they're all lasers, but they're pea shooters. You need to add more weapons. Now, you have acknowledged here, create space in our balance model that will allow us to continue to introduce new weapons and have unique gameplay and open up the design space for new ways to play. So, I'm hoping you add these weapons. It looks a bit funny that you haven't added them yet for Christmas time, but please consider adding harder to use weapons, but they do have more damage on them at distance. I hope so. Regarding this create space in our balance model that will allow us to continue to introduce new weapons and unique gameplay, I'm going to add in a few things here that could help you bring new players into the game and keep them. Everyone suggested new player servers, but I'm going to go a bit more in depth with that. So, you could have two different types of new player servers. You could have one that's level 0 to 30. Within that server, you could have a longer time to kill. You could have a quicker respawn because players hate waiting around. They want back into the game. So, doing that whenever they're first playing it will entice them to stick around a wee bit longer, especially if they've had a dodgy death. They went, oh damn, I'm dead. I want to go back and get that guy. They spawn in a lot quicker. You could also have the snap aim assist in the 0 to 30 servers. However, once they hit level 31, there's different servers for them. Still new player servers that maybe go from level 31 to 50 or 31 to 60. However, the snap aim assist gets dropped in that. That's only level 0 to 30. But you still have the quicker respawn, you still have the longer time to kill. But you drop the snap aim assist. Once they then hit level 61, they will have the map knowledge, they will have used most of the guns, they'll have an idea of how to play the game. Those are the two biggest barriers to players playing Battlefield, is the map knowledge, learning the guns, the recoil and whatnot. Once they then go into level 61, they have that knowledge. So they shouldn't need all this aim assist. They shouldn't need this longer time to kill. They know the game. They can now play it like everybody else. How would that not keep everybody happy? It would keep everybody happy. I also feel that headshots need to be adjusted. Since you up the time to kill, I feel you should up the multipliers on the headshots. Currently for assault weapon it's double the damage a headshot. I think it should be at least double and a half, 2.5. I feel that players, if they feel they're rewarded for being more accurate, old players and new players, they will try and aim for headshots. They will try and improve their accuracy. Consider it. If anyone from DICE is watching this, consider it. I think it would really, really help players go for those headshots to be more accurate, and it would improve them as players also. None of this snap aim assist crap that does the work for them. You're not going to improve with that. So, topic 2. Problems with player retention and quitting the game. So, here's what DICE are saying regarding this. We can already see what kind of weapons and playstyles and behaviours drive players away from the game, and which kind of behaviour causes you to quit the game. We want you to keep playing the game, and we want to minimise frustration, because that is one critical part of why you're quitting the game. So, breaking that down, they generalise you quit when you feel the game is unfair, unbalanced, or that you don't have a chance. So with this update, you can see what they've done with this. They have increased the time to kill a little bit. And that there is, they've changed the weapon balance as well. So for example, if a player starts a game and they perceive that a level 50 person has an advantage over them, they've got a better they've got better guns compared to their starting guns. They want to feel more established in a firefight. So you want to give them an easier weapon to use at the start of the game so that they feel that they can still be in a good gunfight with a good player and have a half a chance. But why have you added the Sturmgewehr 1.5 as the intro weapon for the assault class? That gun has a ton of vertical recoil. Well, it did have a ton of vertical recoil prior to update 5.2. Why is that the starting weapon for a new player? Like, I know it's the specializations on it, but why could you not have put in the Gewehr 1.5, a semi-automatic weapon, as an intro weapon? That way they could tap fire. They can't really have a lot of recoil on it because they're forced to tap fire with it. It would help them learn the weapon, help them get in a feel for the maps to begin with as well. It would just be easier for them. Then you could progress them on to a full auto weapon. The likes of the medic class has a Sten, perfect. It's not great at distance, doesn't have a massive rate of fire, it has low recoil, but it's got really good hip fire, and it's a good intro weapon for the medic class. Why have you not done that with the assault class? Any wonder they feel they don't have a chance when they have this weapon with a ton of vertical recoil on it? They're going to get wrecked. Next up, they quit when they are shot in the back without having an opportunity to face their enemy. So, when they die at 100 meters from an SMG, it feels wrong and frustrating. So you've adjusted the hits that short range weapons need to kill at longer range, which allows a skilled player to still make those hits, but also gives the enemy an opportunity to respond to that fire and take action. Your expectation is that they will still lose the fight, but they're at least able to participate and learn from the experience versus simply being left with frustration of being deleted, killed. I think all these people complaining about being lasered by an SMG at 100 meters, I'm sorry, but those players are idiots. They're idiots, or they just don't understand the game. Or they're really bad. Getting lasered from 100 meters of an SMG? Come on now. Jeez, man, are you joking? These players don't realise that when they got killed by a player with an SMG at 100 meters away and it came up in the kill card, died by this player, SMG, the Sten, whatever. Oh, how did that person kill me? How did that person kill me? That's not fair, that's not fair. But they're noobs. They didn't realise that probably over there there was probably multiple people shooting at them with SMGs 5-10 meters away from them, and they did most of the damage. How often, as a player, have you been really far from a player and you've seen someone shooting at someone and you just, oh, I might get that kill, let's shoot him, and you've got the player with 1 damage or 5 damage with your SMG? You got the kill, and that will show to that player. I think it's a lot of misunderstanding on the killed player's part, that they don't realise that many players were shooting at them at the same time. That person with the SMG may have got the kill, but they did very, very little of the damage. So I think if you add it on the kill card, such and such a player got the kill, but this is all the damage they did to you. Such and such did 99 damage on you and they got the assisted kill. It may help with some of the confusion when players die, how they died, who they got most of the damage done from. I think this whole getting lasered from 100 meters away is a bit of a myth, to be honest with you. I really do. The final thing is there's frustration with the core gameplay is quite high. And, well, DICE say, through our surveys we're able to measure that while there is a group of current players who are satisfied, there is a much larger group of current players who are dissatisfied. We can see that the satisfaction with the core gameplay has decreased over time. We are also able to measure the split between the influence of the bugs, the desire for more content, and the pacing and gunplay in the game. Effectively understanding that when viewed in isolation, the gunplay is solid but stale. We need to refresh the game in order to maintain a healthy game and a healthy player base. Well, this is just all wrong. It's just all wrong. And let me highlight a few sentences for you here. There is a group of current players who are satisfied. This is the core community, the people that do the surveys. Give the feedback. The ones that have stayed in the game this length of time. More in these surveys later on as well, by the way. Then there's this much larger group of current players who are dissatisfied. DICE are guessing that this group are dissatisfied because they see from their telemetry that these players are quitting the game, they're not sticking around. That is everyone who doesn't fill out the surveys. They aren't sticking around. They play the game a couple of hours every week. You know, DICE are guessing from their in-game data, and I've already kind of highlighted a little bit about this in-game data and why they shouldn't base all their decisions on this. And that is basically what it seems that this time to kill update 5.2 has been based on, is this in-game data. They then go on to say that we're able to measure the split between the influence of the bugs, the desire for more content, and the pacing and gunplay in the game. So they are saying that these are the main problems people have with the game. The influence of the bugs. People hate the bugs. Desire for more content and the pacing of the gunplay. Out of all three of those, what kind of priority would you put on those? 1, 2, and 3? Most people would want the bugs fixed, and they would want more content. The two things that actually helped improve this game with the Pacific, with Operation Underground, they started fixing the bugs, there was less bugs, and they added more content. However, DICE seem to have put the priority number 3, and yes, they've given us the middle finger here pretty much, where they want to improve the gunplay, where it was the best kind of part of the game. Like, that's what their telemetry data is effectively showing them. And look what it's done to the game. It's ruined it for nearly everyone. And this is where I will bring up the CTE, the community test environment, where they could input all these things into this and test it out before they put it into the main game. DICE say this requires a lot of work, and it does. I admit it will require a lot of work to implement this. But look at the time and effort you have put into this time to kill that no one really wanted. Why could you not put that effort into establishing this CTE? Why not do it? Come on, DICE. It would really, really help improve the game. Less bugs, you can really understand, like, oh, this isn't working, before putting it into the main game. Again, consider this. I think it would be a really good option, and again, it's something the community wants. The final thing I want to talk about is measuring success. So, how you feel about the change is part of how DICE are going to determine how successful it has been. And we recognise that you need to play it first before we can accurately obtain that feedback. We also recognise that our player base far exceeds the amount of players that we have participating in the conversation online. And in the absence of hearing from them directly, we can also make use of the telemetry that we receive. Oh my goodness, here we go, the telemetry data comes up again. So DICE, us people that do all the surveys and whatnot, like, oh my goodness, the people that do the surveys is how they're going to get our information, our the core community. But for those that don't do any surveys, they're going to use the telemetry data. Fuck no, DICE, fuck no. Oh my goodness, you're saying that you can't get these people, the wider community's views on this. How can you not? Put it in the main game options. Like, look on screen here now. You have these pop-ups coming up in game all the time. Have one come up where, can you please fill out this survey? You have a chance of winning a Battlefield 5 mouse map. You have a chance of winning a graphics card, whatever. It would make them want to do it, and you could then gather their data. You're just going around in circles if you measure your success from the way you've currently been doing it. You're not going to diverge onto another path if you keep doing it this way. You need to think of new ways of getting people's feedback, especially the people that aren't on social media. You only put these surveys on Facebook, you only put them on Twitter, you put them on the forums. Most people don't check those. Put them in game where everybody has to go to play the game. It makes sense, come on. That will give you a more accurate reflection of how successful an update has been, what these changes have been. Really consider doing these things. Like, I feel it would make everybody happy. It would keep everybody happy. So we're just past the 20-minute marker now, folks. So if you've reached this far, I thank you for spending the time watching this video. I really I feel passionately about this. I do. I feel that these changes would really help the game. I want the game to succeed. Thank you for watching, folks, and I'll catch you again in the next video. Thank you very much.